They mocked us, called us conspiracy theorists, told us to move on. Well, today that lie died. Trump just ordered the FBI to release everything, every sealed Epstein document, every buried grand jury file, every name they tried to protect. The Wall Street Journal even got kicked from the White House press pool for pursuing the story. Mark Levin suddenly screaming, "Stop talking about Epstein." Why? Because they all know it's coming. The cover-up is crumbling. The panic is real. We've got the whole unedited White House gaggle where the bombshell dropped. But first, the facts that prove this is the beginning of the end for the protected class. So keep on watching. Now, you probably think your 401k is safe, but it wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift retirement costs and risks onto you, leaving your savings exposed to crashes, inflation, and chaos. But Americans are waking up and taking control with real assets like gold. Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands secure their future by converting part of their 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. It's safe, it's simple, and it's smart. Visit nextnewsgold.com to get your free wealth protection kit and discover how to safeguard your savings. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's your exit from the danger zone of qualified accounts. Get 2 5-ounce silver American the Beautiful qualified coins. Call that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. And when Colin answers, say, "Hey, Gary Franchi says hello." Wishing you guys the best. All right, give him a call. Okay, so there's a lot happening right now. Do you guys heard of these characters? Have you ever seen these characters on X? Yes. They are Democrat operatives. Ed and Brian Krasenstein. They now escaped to East Asia as calls grow louder across the U.S. for the release of the Epstein client list. That is according to The General. We have this. Check this out. This is an interesting post in relation to that. It's funny how Krasenstein cares about Epstein now. Just a reminder. This is where he stood when Biden was in office. This is what he said about the Epstein client list. Releasing Epstein's client list, with a vast majority of names likely have no involvement in his heinous crimes, would be a reckless act in today's climate of online mob justice. It would destroy the lives of innocent people based solely on guilt by association, offering no accountability, just a modern-day witch hunt fueled by speculation and outrage. Well, you know what? Sometimes you need to have a little mob justice, right? Cancel culture is real. And somebody who wants to cancel the Epstein files, Mark Levin. Yeah, this post about Shadow of Ezra 12 hours ago. Mark Levin is now defending Jeffrey Epstein's child trafficking operation, claiming we can't waste our time on Epstein. He's tired of people who keep bringing up Epstein and doesn't want to hear anymore about the trafficking network. This is an interview he did. Life, Liberty, and Levin with Speaker Johnson. Listen to him.
I've had it with all. We can't waste our time on Epstein and other stuff that are going on here that some people want us to focus on. I've about had it with all that stuff. We better focus on who we are, what we're doing, where we want to take the country, and what they want to do to the country. Mr. Speaker, God bless you, my friend. I appreciate you very, very much.
You too.
Sounds like someone's getting real nervous over there at Fox News. I don't know. Is Mark Levin in the Epstein files? Not saying he's guilty that he did anything. I'm just saying he wants us to move on, but we're not. We're going to get to this. We have exclusive footage from the gaggle that happened earlier today with the White House press secretary. Our camera was there to capture it all. A wide-ranging 16-minute press conference that was totally unscripted. And the White House schedule today. I messaged our producer, Todd, and I said, Todd, the White House schedule says nothing. It looks like it's going to be like a nothing burger today. And then this happened. I had a call with one of my contacts there, and he's like, yeah, Caroline's going to hit the sticks at about 3:30 today. So we called up our crew, and they were there on site. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, let's take a look at what's happening at CNN. Host there says there are new signs that backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein saga is not going away. A vote to force the White House to release all records related to Epstein now has enough Republican support in the House. And just as that news was breaking, Mike Johnson says he's not going to hold a vote on anything related to Epstein this week. Why does that matter? Well, this week is the last week that Congress is scheduled to be working until September. Now, I want to just go back to this for a second because this press conference, there was quite a few questions about Epstein, so you're going to get the raw, unfiltered look at what happened there. Of course, you can find the clips online. They're all there, but our cameras are there, caught it uncensored and unedited. We're not going to cherry pick anything. We're going to give it to you raw and filtered, so I want you to stick around. But listen to CNN first real quick.
There are new signs for the president that the backlash over the Jeffrey Epstein saga is very real and not going away. Right now, there are two major developments on Capitol Hill. A vote on a measure to force the White House to release all federal records related to Epstein now has enough Republican support in the House. At least 10 GOP lawmakers have now signed on, meaning that leadership has to hold a vote. And just as that news was breaking, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, is telling CNN that he's not going to hold any vote on anything related to Epstein this week. Why does that matter? Well, this week is the last week that Congress is scheduled to be working until September.
We need the administration to have the space to do what it is doing.
So no vote on this resolution before August 7th.
There are new signs for the president
on
that the
the
backlash over
resolution.
the Jeffrey Epstein saga.
So let's keep going along here. We got more to get to here. White House removes the Wall Street Journal from the press pool over the Epstein story. You know, the fake news they posted just last week. President Trump now filing a lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and all their the affiliates, owners, personally, not just as entities. Was it $10 billion or something crazy like that? So the Wall Street Journal removed from the press pool. Damn, that sucks. Wall Street Journal. We got some clips here from Tucker Carlson I want to get to first, but here we have this. This is from Bo Loudon. Now, if you don't know who Bo Loudon is, let me give you some background. Bo Loudon is super, like he is best friends with Trump's son. Trump's Barron Trump. Best friends with Barron Trump. Posted this 11 hours ago. Jeffrey Epstein blamed Trump for his downfall, accusing Trump of being the first to report him to police in 2004. That's according to Michael Wolff. President Trump has done more than any other to take down the pedo networks. Will the fake news report this? Listen to this.
And said Epstein believed that Donald Trump went to the Palm Beach police and said, Jeffrey Epstein has young girls at his house, thereby beginning the legal process which would ultimately bring Jeffrey Epstein down. Epstein.
Right. So everyone claiming that, there's some salacious material in the Epstein files that would implicate Donald Trump. Does it make any sense for him to turn in Epstein if he would then be found in those same files? I don't think so. Let's keep going right along here. We have Representative Tim Burchett. President Trump has an incredible gift.
Strategy. Now, I was going to say the president takes a lot of heat for what he said earlier, but, Trump has an incredible strategy. They said, the big, beautiful bill won't pass by July 4th. What happened? Trump worked it. It came out by July 4th. Senator Hagerty's bill on cryptocurrency, they said they wanted it to the president's desk by Friday. There was no way it was going to happen. I'm sitting in a meeting with the speaker and Whip Emmert and about 10 or 12 fellow conservatives that had problems. Trump calls, answers every one of our dadgum questions, and guess what? He signed that bill on Friday. And that, he has an incredible gift at strategy and winning, and that's what he does. Now, I was going to say,
note the Chiron there. At least 10 Republicans signed petition to release the Epstein files. So the ball is moving. Now, let's take a listen to what happened at the White House earlier today. I'll give you the Cliff Notes first. Unfiltered Epstein firestorm erupts outside the White House in a jaw-dropping, unscripted gaggle caught on camera, our camera. White House Press Secretary Caroline Levit went off script in front of a stunned group of reporters, delivering unvarnished 6-month victory lap of the Trump administration before getting hammered with Epstein questions that lit up the press line. She didn't flinch. In the space of just minutes, Levit claimed 0 illegal aliens were released into the U.S. last month, announced D.C. Children's Hospital halted puberty blockers due to Trump's executive order, said Trump ordered the FBI to release the Epstein files, confirmed grand jury is underway, blasted Obama and Hillary Clinton's handling of national security, defended Trump's Fed criticisms, calling Powell's interest rate policy a mistake, and revealed that Trump was serious about blocking the Commanders Stadium over their name, celebrated ending wars, releasing Gaza hostages, and obliterating Iran's nukes. Then came the dagger. A reporter asked about MAGA pushback on Epstein transparency. Her response, the president knows what his supporters want, transparency, and he's giving them that on all accounts. Every word uncensored, every question answered, every jaw on the ground. Here is the full, uncensored, unfiltered, straight from the West Wing gaggle. Check it out.
First, just last.
Now, what you're seeing here, this is Caroline Levit. She just did a Fox News hit. Okay, note the outfit. I know we have clips later on in the show of her, but from that Fox News hit. But here she is walking up. This is the area they call the Sticks at the White House, doing this uncensored gaggle. Watch.
It's good to see all of you. And yesterday, as you all know, we celebrated 6 months of the Trump administration. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you day in and day out here at the White House. 6 months, the most transparent administration in history, if I may add. And I know the president just wanted me to highlight his accomplishments over the past 6 months. As you all remember, because you all covered it on the campaign trail, the president really promised the American people many things. But at the top of that list was to defeat the Biden inflation crisis and to secure our border and our homeland. And I think you've all seen in 6 months' time, the president has delivered on those two core campaign promises. Inflation is now running at a 2.1% annual rate. If you look at our southern border, look at the numbers. Just last month, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. And then look at what the president has done on the world stage. He has ended wars like India and Pakistan. He continues to work aggressively to end the war in Russia and Ukraine. He completely obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. He has continued to hopefully negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Gaza to end that conflict and release all of the hostages. We've seen many of the hostages released as a result of this president's efforts. And this president is working around the clock every day to deliver on the promises he made. You also look at some of the cultural issues, to abolish DEI from our federal government and our military, to effectively end men and women's sports, which is a huge common sense policy that the American people support. And then if you look at the president's strong executive orders that have effectively ended the chemical castration of young children in our country. Just today, Washington, D.C. Children's Hospital in this city has announced they are no longer going to be prescribing puberty blockers to minors. This is a huge win for America and our children. There's certainly more work to do, and the president is doing it right now, and he will continue for the next 3.5 years. But certainly we've accomplished so much in just 6 months, and I'm happy to take some questions.
Was the president serious, or was he joking this weekend when he said he might block a Washington Commanders stadium deal if they don't change their name?
The president was serious, and it's part of the art of the deal, part of his negotiating skills. As you know, sports is one of the many passions of this president, and he wants to see the name of that team changed.
Why is he getting involved in that? Why does he see that as part of his purview?
I think you've seen the president gets involved in a lot of things that most presidents have not. He's a non-traditional president. He likes to see results on behalf of the American people. And if you actually poll this issue with sports fans across the country and even in this city, people actually do support the president's position on this and the name change.
What will you do about that, Caroline?
Thank you, Caroline.
White House's
Thank you, Caroline. And then Mary, you can go.
Thank you, Caroline. What's the White House's reaction to Senator Chuck Grassley today releasing the formally classified Clinton annex showing that the Comey-led FBI failed to fully investigate Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server, also failed to really look into thumb drives with potential national security risks on them, and emails from President Obama?
It comes as no surprise, unfortunately, and I think that's why you've seen the FBI open up investigations into the individual you mentioned and some others as well.
Caroline. Why hasn't the president just ordered the FBI to release the full Epstein files, just get it all out there?
The president has said if the Department of Justice and the FBI want to move forward with releasing any further credible evidence, they should do so. As to why they have or have not or will, you should ask the FBI
But does he still anticipate releasing more information,
Does the president have any
It's up to the Attorney General.
Does the president have any message for the countries that are planning to attend the two-state solution conference that's taking place later this month?
I'm not quite sure he has a particular message for those countries. I think the president's message on this conflict we've seen in the Middle East taking place for far too long that has become quite brutal, especially in recent days. You've seen reports of more people dying. The president never likes to see that. He wants the killing to end, and he wants to negotiate a ceasefire in this region, and he wants to see all of the hostages released from Gaza. That has been a top priority for this president. Within this 6 months, we have seen many of the hostages released, including the last living American hostage, Edon Alexander, which was a result of this administration's diplomatic efforts and approach to ending this conflict. And again, this is another conflict that the president inherited from the previous administration, who was so weak and incompetent, it led to so much chaos and death around the world, but this president is focused on solving it. Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you. So at 6 months, the president is also experiencing some pushback from members of his own MAGA base, especially on the matter of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Is the president satisfied that his own supporters are not heeding his call to let it go and to move on?
I know the president would reject that, Kelly. In fact, he cited over the weekend some polls showing that his approval rating with the Republican Party is actually at an all-time high. He's polling 90 to 95% amongst Republicans right now. That's higher than any Republican president or any leader of this party ever. The president is the creator and the leader of the Make America Great Again movement. It's his baby that he made. And he knows what his supporters want. It's transparency, and he has given them that on all accounts when it comes to everything this administration has done, especially when it just comes to the president himself, taking questions from all of you in the press corps on a near daily basis, multiple times a week. No question is off limits here at this White House, not just for the president, but myself as well.
Caroline, on immigration. All on Cash Patel to do more.
Again, as I just answered, the president has told the Attorney General and the FBI director to release any credible evidence that they find, and he also signaled to them over the weekend to move forward with unsealing the grand jury documents that were under seal by various judges across the country, and I believe the Attorney General has taken the proper legal action to do that.
You mentioned there also Israel, we've seen stepping up some attacks in Gaza. Has the president expressed his frustration with Netanyahu, and how does this impact the ceasefire negotiations?
Well, look, the president enjoys a good working relationship with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu and stays in, frequent communication with him. He was caught off guard by the bombing in Syria and also the bombing of a Catholic church in Gaza, which, as you know, I addressed at my briefing last week. And in both accounts, the president quickly called the prime minister to rectify those situations. And we saw Secretary Rubio intervene when it came to Syria. We saw a de-escalation there. And as for the bombing of the Catholic church in Gaza, the prime minister did put out a statement saying this was an accident and they deeply regretted that action on behalf of the state of Israel following his conversation with the president.
Has the White House taken a position on Maria Salazars' work visa bill, and ideally, what does the president want to see with a work program for aliens?
Again, I know you asked me about that last week, and I regret to inform you my answer remains the same. I don't think that's the focus of the White House right now in terms of legislative priorities, but certainly I promise you'll get a readout on the bill. But as I reiterated to you before, the president does not support amnesty for illegal alien criminals. And I think the tragic circumstance that took place in New York City this past weekend underscores the priority of this president to secure our homeland and to deport illegal alien criminals and public safety threats from our country and our community. That's this president's priority.
That in the last several months, Americans have become more hesitant about President Trump's different ways that he's been conducting immigration. They think that it's going too far. Is the White House going to limit any ways that it is enforcing immigration across the country?
I think the Trump administration is going to continue to focus on removing public safety threats and illegal alien criminals from sanctuary cities. The president himself has said that's the priority for him in this administration, which the vast majority of Americans do still support removing illegal, heinous criminals from their communities. And ultimately, the best poll that was ever taken was on November 5th, when nearly 80 million Americans voted to re-elect this president. largely because of his immigration policies. And we've seen they've been a resounding success. Again, 0 illegal aliens were released into the country last month. That's a good thing for all of us standing here and for Americans across the country.
And Caroline, there are reports that President Trump or that FBI agents going through the Epstein files were told to flag President Trump's name if it came up. Is that something the president was aware of, or something that he directed those agents or the Department of Justice to do?
I don't believe that's something the White House was aware of. You have to ask the FBI.
Caroline, is President Trump satisfied with how aid's being distributed in Gaza right now?
Look, the president is the reason that aid is even being distributed in Gaza at all. He wants to see this done in a peaceful manner where more lives are not being lost. He hated seeing the pictures of starvation of women and children desperately needing that aid, which is why this administration came to a creative solution to bring that aid into the region. And we want to make sure that aid is delivered to people in need, but certainly does not end up in the hands of terrorists. I think both things can be done at the same time. Look, it's a very difficult and complicated situation, again, that the president inherited because of the weakness of the last administration. And I think he should be applauded and the administration should be applauded for coming up with a creative solution to get aid into the region. The president wants to see peace, and he's been pretty clear about that. And our national security team continues to work on this every single day, but of course it's a very complicated situation.
Over the weekend, the Commerce Secretary had some pretty tough words for the Fed chair. It's good to see you.
Hi, Mark.
It's good to see you.
You're sneaking in back there.
I know. I wish I was taller. The Commerce Secretary over the weekend had some pretty tough words for the Federal Reserve Chairman. The White House has sent some mixed messages whether or not his job is safe or not. Will Powell be allowed to finish his term as Federal Reserve Chairman or not?
Look, Mark, the president talked about this and answered these questions for you pretty extensively in the Oval Office. He has no plans to fire the Fed chair, but he has been very transparent in expressing his displeasure with Jerome Powell's management of the Fed and also his policies. And the president is right, by the way. He's been saying this for a while, but finally, economists and experts are agreeing with him that Jerome Powell should cut interest rates. If you look at our country, by every economic metric right now, it is booming. Look at the trillions of dollars the president has brought in foreign investments. Look at inflation, like I said, continues to go down. He's basically defeated it in just 6 months. If you look at the massive deregulatory campaign this administration has lost, look at the cost of goods. The cost of oil is down 20%. We've added 700,000 jobs to the economy in just 6 months. The manufacturing sector is ticking up again. By all accounts, this is a good economy. In fact, the Wall Street Journal, wherever you are, did in fact give credit for that today. They said that the economy has its swagger back, which is one way to put it. But I think that it's true. And I think that the Fed chair needs to lower interest rates. The president is right about that. And finally, people are catching up to the president.
Yes. Has the president shared any additional thoughts on privatizing the TSA?
Privatizing the TSA. I haven't heard him talk about that, but perhaps it would be a good idea. I think we can all agree there's a little bit of bureaucracy when you move through an airport. But I'll get with the president, or perhaps you can ask him yourself next time, Brian.
The Congressional Budget Office released updated estimates today about the Big Beautiful Bill now that it's law. They estimate that the deficit will grow by $3.4 trillion by 2034 and that 10 million people will lose health coverage by 2034. I know you guys are critical of the CBO. More broadly speaking, is there any concern from the administration that this bill, now that it's law, will increase the deficit in any way or remove anyone from health insurance that they have legal citizens?
No, look, this bill was a great bill for the American people. It was the largest tax cut for middle and working class families in our nation's history. And the president wants to see this country get our fiscal house in order. That's why this was a fiscally responsible bill, one of the most fiscally conservative pieces of legislation for its size that has ever crossed through Capitol Hill. And the president wants to cut our deficit. That's why he's effectively using tariffs to bring more revenue into the United States to ultimately pay down our debt that has been created by presidents on both sides of the aisles for many, many decades.
There are 11 days until that August 1st trade tariffs deadline. What can we expect between now and August 1st in terms of potential announcements of trade deals with many countries?
Look, I can tell you the trade team and the president himself continue to be very engaged with countries around the world when it comes to our trade agreements. You have the president of the Philippines who will be visiting the White House tomorrow. Perhaps this will be a topic of discussion. You will all see for yourselves in the Oval Office as you always do. But the August 1st deadline is just really the start date for when the United States of America will begin collecting this revenue from all of the countries around the world who the president has sent these letters to. You could see some more letters before August 1st, John. You could have some more trade announcements as well. I can tell you the President, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Commerce, Ambassador Greer all continue to be in constant communication with our trading partners.
Yes, yeah, thank you. How did you see the tariff negotiations with South Korea being fundamentally different with those with Japan?
I can check in on the status of the South Korean trade talks for you.
Visiting Lebanon regarding disarming Hezbollah. Does President Trump still believe diplomacy?
Who is visiting?
Tom Barak. Special Envoy Tom Barak is visiting Lebanon regarding disarming Hezbollah. Does President Trump still believe diplomacy can work with Lebanon while Hezbollah keeps its weapons?
Look, I think the president wants to see diplomacy work with Lebanon and all of the partners in the Middle East. You know, the president has been very clear when it comes to his priorities for Iran, and he obliterated their nuclear capability. And I understand that the administration continues to be open to talks with Iran if we deem them necessary. As for Tom Barak's trip, I know the president supports him and he's doing a great job in Syria.
Carolina. According to the House Judiciary Committee, the Biden administration sent nearly $1 billion in taxpayer funds to the left organization in Israel to oppose Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What is the White House reaction?
Well, it's not a surprise to me that the previous administration sent billions of dollars overseas for useless priorities that don't advance America's interests. We've seen a lot of that, which is why this administration has been very focused on clawing a lot of that money back and making sure the American government is spending American tax dollars on America's priorities. Thank you, guys. I'll see you later.
Raw and unfiltered, and brought to you by the Next News Network exclusively. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this changes everything. For years, they called us conspiracy theorists. They mocked us. They censored us. But Trump just proved what we knew all along. The Epstein network was protected at the highest levels. And now, with the FBI order to release everything, including sealed grand jury documents, the rats are scrambling. Mark Levin telling people to stop talking about Epstein? Yeah, he got a phone call. But that's the fear talking. The Wall Street Journal kicked out of the press pool? That's desperation. This isn't just about one monster. It's about an entire system of corruption that reaches into every corner of power. So here is my question. Do you believe we'll actually see actual arrests from these files? Yes or no? Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're at it, check out our merch shop. It's linked down below. Show the world you stand for the truth, not cover-ups. The revolution needs warriors. Are you in?